Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to, because we have a larger group today, we're going to split you in 2 groups. I see 12 people here, so we're going to go 20.
We're done, actually. Sorry.
We have 24 people here. We're going to go 12 to 12. And so we actually just do this real quick. Let's just part and hug the wall over here. Hug the. Let me see what we got going over here. So I got 3, 6, 7, 8. And you got 9, 10, and you can have a party of 2.
Tour guide.
There you go. So we're going to do that. So you guys are one group, and then you guys over here are another group. So what we'll do is, since you guys are closer to the museum door, your team is going to be going inside first to take a look at the museum. Joey is going to be with you while you do that, and after that, you're going to go outside and take a look at the outside, all the facade and everything you see here, and get the walking tour in. So this is a 2-part tour. We have the outdoor tour where we're going to walk around, take a look at the property, and just talk about everything that's around us. And then inside is our museum. This is everything that's in the museum are all actual artifacts that were recovered from this property. Not everything in there was from Mayflower Hall, the building that it's in, but from the property itself. There are absolutely no replicas in there, so this is our Please Do Not Touch museum. Everything is very delicate, and some of them have not even been washed because we're just too afraid to do anything with them. So we ask that you just respect the fact that they're in that state, and we want to keep them that way. If you're curious about anything you see in there, you can ask any one of us, and we will know lots about the things in there. Of the artifacts inside, you also do have 2 people who actually worked here when this place was in operation. You're going to have a chance to talk with Donna and Bernie, who were both here when this place was in operation. So, you know, who better to ask the questions to than, you know, the people who actually lived it, you know what I mean? So just keep that in mind. We very much love curiosity, and we want to answer any questions that you guys have. And so by all means, please be curious. Let me see here. So we are going to be talking about some pretty heavy topics today. This is an institution that handled those with intellectual disability. Because of that, we're going to talk about some pretty unsavory history, and you know, and we're going to get talking about some yucky stuff. We might be using some yucky words as well. The people who were brought to places like this usually had classifications such as mentally retarded, moron, imbecile, and so on. These are all words that were used to classify those who would end up in these halls. We now use those words more so as insults than anything. There's no excuse to use any of those words besides to be mean to somebody. Those words were actually used to dehumanize and to send people to locations like this. It's no wonder we actually use these words as insults today, because the goal of using that word is to dehumanize and to make them feel lesser. And you know, the people who were brought here were not lesser. They were still humans. We treated them as less. And because of that, some really nasty stuff happened in places like this. And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to get a little uncomfortable, and it's because this is an uncomfortable history, but it's a history we must learn and we must understand. So, yeah, with that in mind, I'm going to be taking you guys on your outdoor tour first. We're going to be walking around, and then afterwards we're going to go inside to the museum. I'm Chris. Joey over here is going to be handling you guys over here. So, yeah, we're going to There it is. Go ahead and take them away.
No.
For them to go inside. Yeah, that's fine.
With the back out of the bag.
Oh wow, that big bag is in that. Wow.
Yeah.
Go take the key. Go with her.
I got it. It's okay.
So if anybody else needs to make a last-minute trip to the cars, this is your opportunity. We'll have another opportunity after we come back from the outdoor tour, before you go into the museum.
Too much. I told you. Yeah. In case it's like damp inside. Look at you. I don't want to look at Donna. She's so pretty. Her Mickey Mouse. You're on national team.
We've got some very interesting, like, film crews that would come in and stuff. Like, apparently I'm on German TV. I've never seen it, but
Oh, no. Oh, awesome. That's cool.
yeah, it's always funny when I see like a camera on me. Like my brain is like, act different.
Oh. This is just for me.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm cool with that. Right.
It would be nice if I ever go viral, but you never know.
Hey, you keep on doing your thing, and you know, if people like it, they'll
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like every person who's ever gone like viral or famous, they were just doing their own thing.
Yeah. This is like, you know, my hobby kind of thing, you know.
Oh, who is it? So my wife and I, for fun, we like watching Markiplier.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's our favorite.
yeah.
And his story is very similar. He used his refund money to just buy some recording stuff.
Yeah,
And
that's
it
what
was
I
like-
basically did, yeah.
People were like, I like this. And now he's the
Like-
number one, or was the number one subscriber.
Yeah, he's like top of the line
Yeah,
still, up
so-
at the top.
Yeah, he's just being his genuine self.
Yeah, that's what you do.
Excuse me.
She just went on varsity this year. I'm down to that.
All right. So, yeah, here we are. This is Pennhurst. Now, a lot of people have immediately. Well, let's put it this way: a lot of people will come here, take pictures, and then upload stuff saying, you know, the Pennhurst Asylum. You know, this is the history of the asylum and such. But I just want to like put it right out there. Very first thing I'm going to say is that asylum is the Pennhurst Asylum is a fictional entity. That is make-believe. The reason why we know of the Pennhurst Asylum is because that is what's inside this building over here as an entertainment, as an attraction. When you come here during the Halloween months, you go to the Pennhurst Asylum Halloween attraction. It's all fictional. It's actually designed to be separate from the historical location that you're standing on right now. They actually called it the asylum because they thought, okay, this was never known as such, so we can, you know, we'll call it an asylum and people will know that it's different. Unfortunately, people have conflated that with reality, and so it's kind of my job to be like damage control. No, it's not actually an asylum. This place was at first, when it was first drafted, it was known as the Eastern Pennsylvania Institution for the Feeble-Minded and Epileptic, which it's called the Eastern Pennsylvania Institution because there is also a Western Pennsylvania Institution for the Feeble-Minded and Epileptic, which opened up earlier. Now we know this location as Polk Center, or, Polk Center, located in Polk County, Pennsylvania. Spoiler alert, Polk Center is actually still in operation. Yeah, this place has been abandoned for almost 30 years, whereas Polk Center is actually still in operation right now. Last I heard, I believe, I heard that there were 13 people still admitted to Polk Center, but because they are too old and frail to move out of, we're waiting for them to age out of the program, and then we can close the building down. That's as I understand it. So, yeah. Pennhurst, however, did eventually close down. It was known as the Eastern Pennsylvania Institution for the Feeble-Minded and Epileptic. Eventually, it was turned to the Pennhurst State School, or the Pennhurst School. Then it was known as the Pennhurst School and Hospital, and ultimately it was known as the Pennhurst Center. That's how it closed. Again, it's never been known as the asylum. It was actually done so, we called it the asylum because we wanted it to be separate from the history. So yeah, just a little caveat there before we get started.
Interesting.
Has anybody actually been here on this property before?
On the Halloween thing.
During the Halloween
I feel like
thing?
it kind of ruined it.
What's that?
Like the Halloween part of it kind of like ruined it.
Really?
Like, not ruined
Well,
it,
we
but like,
came here expecting it was gonna be
I
like
thought it was
this.
gonna be like this.
And then when we like
And
went
then there
through
was
it,
like
we
a
were
bunch
like,
of animatronics and stuff like that.
I mean, yeah. So the Halloween stuff, it's supposed to be very like your standard.
like feel the scream.
Feel
type
the,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
pretty much
scary.
like that. It's
Yeah.
supposed to scare you. It's supposed to be just fantastical, completely fiction, and none of the reality that actually happened here. We did that on purpose too. We don't want to emulate what actually did happen here because we respect the fact that this was not supposed to happen. We weren't going to turn that into, you know,
Yeah, how,
entertainment. That's just wrong. So yeah, we wanted to stay very, very far away from that, and so much so that actually, if anybody tries to emulate the reality inside those walls, we remove them immediately. They are no longer employed by Pennhurst LLC. In fact, I remember one time somebody in the middle of an act tried to use the name of the doctor who did work here in his act, and he's disappeared. I've never seen him again. As far as I can tell, he's one of our animatronics now. So yeah, we treat that very seriously. We don't deal with that. So yeah, we're going to talk about what actually did happen here, and we're going to make sure that it's done respectfully. We want to talk about specific perspectives as we go about this tour. So as I walk around, I'm going to be introducing different perspectives in regards to intellectual disability. The first one that I want to really focus on is going to be the perspective of the court of public opinion, the people versus those with intellectual disability. What did the public think about intellectual disability?
Freak of society.
Yeah, kind of. You know.
Hide them away.
Yeah, hide them away, get rid of them, and just, you know, they're a burden to us, and we don't need that right now. And then we also have many other perspectives, but the one that I really want to focus on after that is the perspective of the people who actually worked here, who cared for those with disability. And I'm going to focus on what their perspective looked like, what they thought. So those are the two main ones. I'm going to throw some others in there, and then I'll also want to kind of challenge your perspective after this is all over. So just kind of understand that I want to be putting you guys into different shoes or looking behind different eyes as we go about this. To really start, I want to get us looking at some new buildings. So I'm going to go over here, take a step down the stairs over here, and join me as we walk around the property.
Sylvia, I'm just concentrated. I don't want to get the headset. It's funny, Donna. It's funny because we work in nursing, and he's going to ask us for our opinion.
I don't know.
All right. So to start, let me see here. Oh, I never actually talked about myself. Usually I like to open up with a little bit about myself. Like, who am I? Why am I the one telling you all about all this and stuff? And to tell you the truth, my credentials are very limited. I started here as an actor in 2016 at the asylum. Just kind of, you know, would just get in makeup and scare people. It was a lot of fun. I actually still enjoy it. But I just, what they do is they actually have us parking like all the way across the property. And they're like, they make us walk this entire campus to get to that building. And you're just looking at all these buildings in, you know, every hour of the day and night and taking it all in. And I would just ask the boss lots of questions about it. Like, what's this building? What's that building? What do they do over here? Why did they do that? And I asked so many questions that boss man was like, you pretty much know everything. Like, you want to tell other people what you know? I said, is there a paycheck? I said, yeah, here I am. On top of that, though, my day job, I'm a teacher. I teach middle school and high school science.
Oh, nice.
So I feel very equipped to teach you history today. But yeah, so that's pretty much what we're going to be doing. Now, as far as history is concerned, I was trying to look at like the whys of Pennhurst. Why were these buildings here? Not more so like what they did or, you know, what the purpose of all these different buildings had, but more so why they were here. Why did we feel it necessary to have a hospital here? Why was there a school here? If we damned people here, why are there still schools in some of these institutions, including this one? It didn't make a lot of sense. And so I started reading into a lot of this and finding out just some weird and conflicting things. Like, how many people actually heard lots of horror stories about this place? Did anybody do any like preliminary research and like find some pretty nasty stuff?
Yeah.
Do I have any locals with me, by the way? Anybody from this area? No? Oh, okay. Yeah, like the locals in this area, there's a lot of urban legends and horror stories associated to this place. And I found that, like most urban legends, they are rooted in truth. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that, exactly what's going on there. Now, when this place, or before this place was first thought up, there was a lot of weird things going on in society. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dial the clock back to about like the turn of the century, 1899 to 1900, to talk about exactly what was happening to American society at that time. What we had going on was all these major cities at the time celebrating this new century. talking about how, you know, there's money to be made, there's money to be brought in, there's business to do, and there's constituency to earn, and all of that. And we have all these cities like Chicago and Philadelphia and New York. In the West Coast, we have the West just being tamed. We're getting there. San Francisco is this shining beacon of hope of civilization over in the West. And so everybody's just trying to, like, become the city of the U.S. And so they start looking at, like, how we're going to, you know, bring people in. How do we attract money? How do we attract power? Well, the one thing they decide to do is they start looking at what it is that we don't want here anymore. What is it that we want to get rid of so that we can attract money and power? Well, what's the opposite of money is poverty, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the first things that they start to do, and San Francisco leads the way in this, they say, let's get rid of poverty. But more so, how about we get rid of the look of poverty? Let's make sure that people who are walking the streets don't see that there are poor people around. And so they write up this rule that pretty much says that anybody who is visibly impoverished can no longer be on the streets. You will be removed from the streets if you seem visibly impoverished. Visibly impoverished literally means you look poor. Not that you are poor, you look poor. That you're not putting yourself together right, that you're not using the right clothing combinations, or, you know, something is just off with you, and you know what, we don't need that. So we're just going to go ahead and remove you. And this is something that is actually enforced by the police, and so they become judge, jury, and executioner of this new law. And so if you're visibly impoverished, you're going to be taken away, sent to jail. If you are proven that you cannot make it on your own, then you will be sent to an almshouse, a poorhouse funded by the state. We realize that there's a lot of these poor people around. Nobody really takes care to decide or to find out why there are so many poor people around, but let me just remind you, turn of the century into 1900, this is on the heels of the Civil War, where lots of people have been, emotionally damaged, physically disabled, so they can't work anymore. We have people who are orphaned, and so they have no idea how to take care of themselves. And so there's no wonder there's so many poor people around these parts, you know, not understanding how they can make it on their own.
My arms get tired.
You know, their whole entire way of life has been challenged, and we're just saying, well, too bad, you can't live here anymore. So, yeah, the jail system already gets taxed on this. It's awful. But we see that it's really cleaning up the streets. This is doing a good job. We're making some progress here. All right, so hey, hold on. What more can we do? What else don't we want to see on the streets? And so we take a look around. We realize now that with all the poor people gone, there seems to be a pattern with the poor people and other unsavory types. And we start seeing some issues, some disabilities and deformities that also kind of make us uncomfortable. And so we start to expand the laws, and eventually we now know these laws, by the way, as ugly laws. You can probably take a guess as to why we call it as such, because it was really focused on anybody who has a physical deformity or an intellectual disability. If they challenge the way that we live, if they challenge how we're going to, like, take care of people and such, we just didn't want that. No, if we can't be a productive member of society, let's just get you out of here, okay? We only want productive people here. We only want those who are able. And so anybody who was classified as intellectually disabled or physically deformed or disabled, just no. And the ugly laws were made so that the police, again, could enforce this, and so the jail system was overly taxed once again. But we realized, holy moly, we have an epidemic on our hands. We have an epidemic of intellectual disability. We have to do something about this. And so, to alleviate the penal system, we started to come up with institutionalization. Pennsylvania joins the ranks in 1904 by writing this place into law. So in 1908, we finally have our first patient walk in through that building right there. This is now known as Philadelphia Hall. And it started at first as the interim administration hall, while the admin hall that you see right over here with the green cupola up top is what's eventually turned into the administration hall. That was erected in 1918. So it took a little bit of time, but they built this place up and immediately started to expand. When this place was first laid out, it had a capacity of about 500, but because of this epidemic on our hands, that capacity was matched almost immediately, and so we started expanding quite quickly. So around you, you can see a couple different buildings. We have Quaker Hall right over here. Behind you, we have Mayflower Hall, which is the site of our museum. And then you can see in the brush over here, there's some more buildings off in the distance. And this campus is rather sprawling. You're going to see a good chunk of the South Campus today, and you'll get to see an aerial map of everything that you looked at today. So you'll get to see kind of a picture of just how big this place was. Let's see here. I've done a lot of talking. Do you guys have any questions? Good so far?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. How do I want to continue? Well, I had Autumn actually open up this building right over here, so I'd like to take us into this building. We're going to go into Quaker Hall. Yeah, go ahead. And kind of show you exactly what we had going on in an institution like this. So we're going to take a glance at what Quaker Hall looked like. And see if you can kind of get